and welcome to For the Love of Nature, a podcast where we tell you everything you need to know about nature and probably more than you wanted to know. I'm Laura.
And I'm Katy, and today we're going to be talking about how some animals have complex or interesting social lives.
Yeah. I feel like me these days. I used to have a way more interesting social life, and then I had a baby and did a podcast and school.
I'm dating in my 30s, so my life is just...
I mean, you do have an interesting social life.
Dude. Shit show. That is... No, it's not that bad. It is interesting by far. Laura knows all the details. The good, the bad, the ugly, everything. And, yeah, poor Laura.
No, I'm here for it. I'm living vicariously.
I wish I could have my own dumpster fire. No, that sounds dramatic, but what's life if it's not a little chaotic sometimes? And we're both storytellers by nature, so I mean, I feel like...
And you're having fun, and you're meeting some really awesome people.
No, I'm definitely meeting awesome people, but also, I mean, this is, you figure, life. Life is just fun right now, and it's really enjoyable. Okay, I wanted to pause because before I forget, I'm launching my website like next week. So I want to do an episode for us, and I can write up like my own questions, and you can ask me questions, and that way we can go through it. But I didn't want to forget about that. So okay. We'll cut that out. Okay. All right. You had nature news though, Laura?
Yeah. For this episode particularly, it seems very apt. And the article is called "Lonely Pet Parrots Find Friendship Through Video Chats," a new study.
Aww, that's so cute.
It's such a good, wholesome article. I mean, it's all over the internet right now. But boy, this NPR one is really good. It's well written. The first line is...
It's NPR, of course.
Yeah. "Once upon a time, Polly just wanted a cracker. Nowadays, Polly might want a Zoom call."
You know whoever wrote that is like, that's a good opening line, you know?
Yeah. So it's a study that looked at 18 pet parrots and examined whether video calls helped them fulfill their social needs. So, a lot of times, I mean, parrots are extremely social.
They're extremely social, yeah.
And they live in large flocks, and a lot of time, people aren't up to having large flocks of parrots in their houses.
Right? One is enough.
Yeah,
jeez.
And most people probably also don't set up, like, play dates for their parrots.
Yeah.
Although, it sounds like a good idea. But anyway.
It does.
So, they were trying to see, could they get the same thing from a video call? And at first, they thought maybe they would see, like, aggression behaviors via phone call, but that's not what happened. They were having a blast. They were singing together. They learned language from one another. Like,
that's insane.
They were having so much fun. They were teaching them, first it was just they were doing calls and they weren't giving the parrots like much choice of it, but they were monitoring things. And but then eventually they did teach them to ring a bell, after which a tablet would be presented. And then they would be shown like an image of a parrot, and then they could choose with their tongue or beak which parrot they wanted to talk to. So they made like best friends with other parrots, and then just chatted.
So crazy.
And they spent hours and hours talking to each other.
I mean, that's not surprising because you figure parrots are normally, they're in a flock all day long. Yeah.
To each other. So it does at least fulfill some of that need. Is it ever going to be as good as being in a real flock? No, but it can give, some stimulation and some social aspects.
Yeah.
And a lot of the pet owners said they really saw their birds like come alive in these video calls, but they had to be closely monitored because they didn't want the parents learning any like weird technology stuff.
Just
you're buying
birdie.
Bitcoin.
Yeah, Polly. Are you buying Bitcoin again? Stop it.
And then the final line of the article is, in other words, maybe what Polly wants is a lasting friendship, even through a screen.
NPR.
Good on you, NPR. Check it out. That's a great article.
Alrighty. Who wants to go first? I can always go first.
Well, let me just really quick. I don't need just to go first, but I just wanted to start off because I found this really good quote by Aristotle, the Greek philosopher. And he said that man is by nature a social creature. And so we humans have social ties to our family, our friends, our communities, and other human beings. Even those that are super introverted. Like, I am not an introvert, but even people who are very introverted still enjoy spending time with other people or have ties, whether they want them or not.
Well, yeah, because, I mean, it's human nature to want love and to belong. Like, you can't... like you said, even though you're an introvert, you still need to have that experience. Yeah, it's that feeling of belonging.
And, these bonds can be complicated and convoluted, but
and suck.
Yeah. Or be great.
Yeah.
But we are by no means the only animals that have these complex social ties.
No.
As we're going to talk about.
Yep. Alrighty.
Yeah,
I guess
go first.
I can go first.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to start by talking about a very charismatic, one of the more, I don't know, one of those big megafauna animals, the orca.
Yeah, I can get behind an orca.
Yeah, but untrue to my normal character, I'm not going to be telling any Free Willy jokes in this section because I could.
Man. We're dating ourselves, and I feel like some of our younger listeners are going to be like, "What?"
Dude, I saw though. My ex sent me a video, and apparently there's a video coming out that's it's literally this generation's Free Willy, but it's about a grouper fish. They're trying to, no joke.
Random.
Yeah, they're trying to set one free. Apparently. Anyway, I'll have to figure out what the name of it is. Okay. Right? So an orca's scientific name is Orcanus orca. The
Sounds first, like what they say, what the noises they make.
No, it doesn't. The first part of the name, Orcanus, originates from the Latin word orca.
Whoa, who guessed that one?
Yeah, which means a kind of whale or large vessel.
Hey, what do you think that is? I don't know, a kind of whale.
Yeah,
but
right?
It's not.
Or it's a large vessel. It is derived from the Greek word orkos, meaning huge or gigantic. Orcas can be found in all oceans all around the world, from the freezing waters of the Arctic to the tropical seas of the equator, including, which I didn't know this till a few years ago, freaking Texas Gulf, which is nuts. Yeah. Yeah, right. There's just, I mean, I don't know what they're seeing. I mean, I love Texas, but on the Gulf up where they typically are seen, I mean, southern Texas, heck yeah, gorgeous down there. But northern Texas, just tour of the oil rigs, like I'm not sure. But yeah, there's pods that it is very rare, but you can even see them in the Gulf of Mexico, which again, crazy.
Yeah, I usually think about them being in the Arctic.
Yep. Nope. All over the place. So here's a fun fact. Despite their name, killer whales, like Laura alluded to earlier, are actually the largest members of the dolphin family. They're true...
Not a whale.
Right? Not a whale. They're true apex predators, feasting on a wide variety of prey, including fish, squid, seals, and even other marine animals. Okay, I just need to pause for a second, because as horrible as this sounds, a bucket list item of mine is definitely to see an orca punt a seal into the air. Listen, it is, but it goes so high and so far. And I know. What would be horrible is we'd probably be on like this, commercial tourism trip.
Yeah.
Everybody else is horrified. And I'm back there like.
Children are sobbing. Yeah.
And I can't stop laughing just because, I've read, what was it once? It was like, it can be, like, some of these seals are launched like 80 feet in the air.
That is insane.
80 feet. And they are intelligent enough.
Yeah.
They're playing. They are 100%. But what else would it be like? Can you imagine? Because they're intelligent enough to play. So you imagine they're like, I can hit one higher than that, Max.
Yeah.
Like, they're just talking, no, I can go higher than that. I can, boom, and just punting these seals higher and higher. It's just...
Kicking the old seal skin around instead of pig skin.
Jeez, 80 feet in the air. I couldn't hold it together. I would be laughing. So yeah, as horrible as it is, bucket list item of mine.
I guess most of our sports balls are originally made out of animal hides. So we're kicking dead animals around. Not that much different.
Yeah, these ones are still mostly alive. So,
okay.
So yeah, little different, but. All right, but what truly sets orcas apart from other animals besides their remarkable punting skills are their social lives. These marine marvels live in highly structured and tightly bonded groups called pods. These pods consist of family members who stick together through thick and thin, which, again, thank God humans aren't like that. We could just ditch family members.
You're so pessimistic. You're like, man, I hate these social bonds. I'm so glad I don't have to stick with it.
Listen.
That's so wholesome. They stick with each other through thick and thin.
Like, thank God. No.
We're just good cop, bad cop over here.
Right. As always, if you haven't listened to our Could You Fight That episode and really want to see the true dynamic of mine versus Laura's personality.
I was a violent one.
Listen, because immediately if somebody asked me, could you fight that animal? You go on the defense, I go on the offense every single time. I immediately click into survival mode where you're like, okay, how can I get away without harming this animal? I'm like, if it's me or you, bud, you're going down. Like, it's going to be you. You every time. Not with orcas, though. I could not survive against an orca.
Definitely not. Definitely not.
So within a pod, there's definitely a strong sense of unity and cooperation. They work together to hunt, protect their young, and navigate vast oceans. And so, and that is really neat because, again, you're in a Diggles. I hope that your mic caught that meow because I could hear it.
I'm sure it did.
I don't imagine being able to navigate underwater in the ocean. Like, there's nothing.
No.
There's nothing.
Just talk it out and hope somebody remembers the way.
Remember something. Oh, yeah. The plankton is thicker here. So, like, I don't know, man.
I don't know either.
Gosh. Interestingly, though, each pod has its own unique culture and dialect, which I think is
so freaking cool.
That is pretty neat. Just like humans, orcas have their own distinct languages, which they use to communicate with one another. They have a repertoire of clicks, whistles, and calls that they use to express emotions, coordinate hunts, and maintain social bonds.
Yeah, all of these really social animals are very talkative so that they can constantly maintain, especially the ones that are like coordinating hunting.
Yeah.
Because we talked about that before in our Animal Smarts episode with the dolphins.
Yeah, which is an interesting thing that you say that, though, because the smartest ones, they do communicate the most because there's tons of animals that live in flocks, herds, groups, or whatever. And so physically they're close, but it's that communication, that constant talking, which like sets all of the ones that are social, at least the two that I have. That's what really sets them apart as being intelligent is that constant communication. Yeah.
It's like, you can have a whole bunch of wildebeest in a herd, but they're not... Jiggles! This cat just pulling my microphone out. Yeah, like wildebeest might be hanging out together, but they're not necessarily like
intelligent. They're not
do a task.
Yeah, it's all very it's all very reactionary. Like this one runs this way, and so But anyway, yes, it's all communication. But with orcas, then this communication can come up in handy for a variety of reasons. One reason is how their pod structure is set up. So pods are typically composed of several generations of related individuals. Within a pod, there is a complex social structures where different roles and responsibilities are assigned. This structure facilitates the communication, cooperation, and collective decision-making, which are vital for successful navigation.
So cool.
Yeah.
It's like Orca Republic.
Orca
Definitely
Republic.
A good band name.
No, that would be an amazing T-shirt. I feel like you can make a sweet
Republic. Please join the Orca Republic.
Make a sweet T-shirt. And a lot of this, though, comes in handy whenever they're cooperative hunting. So different individuals within a pod work together to hunt and capture prey, such as the fish, the seals that we talked about, and even other whales.
Yeah. You even brought this up before with the bonobos. You were talking about how some tribes or some groups have developed different hunting techniques.
Yeah.
Like some like hunt. And
yes.
Some don't.
Yes.
Or chimpanzees. Was it chimpanzees that were?
I don't. It's got to be chimpanzees because bonobos are just.
That's right. They're too busy having sex.
Yeah, they're just creepy.
but yeah, like the same like the whales have their own, like you were saying, culture, their own.
Yeah, their own culture. So it's the cooperative behavior that not only increases their chances of the successful hunt, but also allows them to share and distribute resources within the pod, ensuring the overall well-being of the group. Yeah, so what's really interesting then is within these orca pods, they communicate even between like pods and within hunting. So as they're hunting, each animal, sort of like in a wolf pack, they each have their own separate job and they're each trained to their own separate job. But then different pods of orcas specialize in eating different things. Like some will eat.
Competing.
Yeah, so they're not competing. So they fill their own niche in the wild. Yeah. And a lot of that is that knowledge transfer and stuff. And so I'm going to go into that here in a second. So, or right now. That's the next paragraph. So another interesting dynamic to orcas' social structure is the knowledge transfer that I just said. They exhibit remarkable ability to learn from one another and pass down the knowledge across generations. They have distinct cultural traditions, which is just to think that orcas have cultural traditions.
Well, you're like, I mean, right.
Is
Like, how different are
insane.
we? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, what kind of, like, is there an example of things that they specialize in? Like, as far as, like, their culture or hunting?
Most of it is like the finding the food and the migration routes and avoiding potential dangers. Like most of it is just as far as culture is. Hold on, let me look up the actual definition of culture.
I meant like with the, you were saying that they specialize, so they're not competing, they specialize in certain food resources.
Yeah, like some will do like closer to the shore fish. Some will do further out. Some will do sharks. Some will do, they each have like their own little, their own little niche that they'll fill.
It'd be so cool to be part of the family that eats like sharks. Like you got to be like the
Dude, that'd be
metal of the
right,
of the orcas,
right?
Like
it would have to be. Imagine if that was like your cousin. Like you're in the pod that eats, the little dainty inland fish.
Yeah.
And then there goes like your metal, like you hear them like screaming and screeching, chasing sharks just flying by you.
Gosh dang it! I wish I was part of that.
Yeah,
group.
could have been there. But besides the cultural differences and everything, here's to me where it gets even more mind blowing. Was that recent research has revealed that the complex social structures and relationships that they do within orcas rival a lot of those of human societies. They have the intricate hierarchies where older females, known as the matriarchs, hold a key decision-making positions within the pod. Get it, girl. Female orcas can live up to 90 years or more, making them one of the longest-lived mammals on the earth.
Mm-hmm. I was reading a thing where they were saying that it's like elephants and orcas and us, I think, are the only 3 animals that go through menopause, which means like you no longer reproductive but are still around. And that's because
just so
grandmothers are actually still important to, like, it's not even just like an age thing, but what's your purpose of being there if you're not breeding? Knowledge transfer. So like with elephants, us, and orcas, there's still a point for us to be around even when we can no longer make babies.
Well, and I think too, though, okay, so think of it this way, evolutionary speaking, males, what are they? They young, they fit, hunt, provide that kind of natural instinct, which very much so fits the bill whenever you're younger. You know what I mean? And so it's like males almost feel that need of protection and everything as they're younger. And then as they get older, I don't want to say they don't have a purpose, but you just get to a point where you're just too old.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like the dynamic switches. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like
where the women were too busy raising the kids early.
Yeah, and then
finally we get into our element of being like, okay, now I can actually teach you some things.
Yeah, like the empathy, the transferring the knowledge, the teaching, and all that stuff like that. So I feel like even within like groups, there's like a time and a place for which one needs to have which role. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I think that's why for like those ones, because I know like the male bull elephants, they're not going to be, with the herd and everything, but it's just very interesting to me because I feel like while like I don't want to say the men are just around to make babies, but like they have
like that for a lot of
it is like that for it, where they are, that is what they are. And then, but at the end of the day, it's the empathy, the knowledge, the survival that the females just happen to be way, way better at. So anyway, but yeah, mothers, they invest a tremendous amount of time and energy into raising their calves, teaching them essential survival skills. Young orcas stay with their mother for several years, forming really an unbreakable bond that really can last a lifetime. These incredible creatures also display remarkable empathy and compassion. Like I said, there have been numerous accounts of orcas supporting injured or sick members of their pod and helping them to swim and even bringing them food whenever they're sick.
Cute and sad.
It is. So in addition to their tight-knit family bonds, orcas can engage in social interactions with neighboring pods. These interactions can range from peaceful encounters to intense displays of power and dominance.
Sea battles.
Right? So, but all in all, that's the orca social bond.
I wonder if anybody's ever done any studies. If anybody has, give us a shout out on social media, like grieving and death rituals of orcas. Obviously, done with other intelligent animals, but I haven't heard anything about. Like, surely if they have the know-how to rescue their friends, they must understand the death is a possibility.
It has to. Yeah, it shows that they have both in the wild and in captivity showed severe signs of a grieving process.
Yeah, I'd
when
love
needed.
to hear more about it. That's so cool.
Yeah, there is actually. I'm looking at like different research backgrounds too. Yeah, whale orcas, they do mourn their death just like we do. Yeah, tons of it.
Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, which is not shocking because, again, just like elephants, I mean, elephants mourn,
Any of these highly social,
yeah,
smart,
yeah,
usually tied together.
yeah.
Well, speaking of another animal that is very social, also has black in color, this is the American crow.
I like that that's your tie-in. Or
I gotta try and
crow.
Somewhere.
Right.
You know, black. They're both black. So we bring up crows, corvids, and that whole family up so much on this podcast, but that's because they're freaking cool.
Yeah, they're pretty amazing.
So I actually had to write an article about this for a magazine, and so a lot of this information I already knew, but I did look up some more and synthesized it, so I learned a little bit for the podcast too. So I'm specifically focusing on American crows, but there are more than 35 species of crows found all over the world.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was that many.
Me neither. With the exception of the polar regions and southern South America. I don't know what they have against it down there, but they don't like it.
Yeah, right? Jeez.
No Patagonia for them.
Right?
So they're relatively large black birds. Some species have extra markings. The American crow, just black. They belong to the Corvus genus, which includes rooks and ravens, and are part of the corvid family, which, like I said, we've talked about before, which also contains the blue jays and the magpies and a couple of other species. All corvids are known to be highly intelligent, and social intelligence is part of that. So American crows spend a lot of time with their extended family. So they're social in the aspect of family. Which makes it's just funny because you usually call like a mob, like when they mob animals, and so just think of like the family.
Yeah, the Godfather.
yeah. So the family may consist of parents and their offspring from the past few years, or siblings helping raise their nieces and nephews. So just multi-generational kind of thing.
Which again, I feel like people think of when I say everything I said about orcas, as cool as it is, I feel like none of that should have been that shocking. But I feel like this about crows, I think more people will be like, "What?" Because it's a bird. You don't typically think of this sort of structure,
like flying around together. But you're not thinking about families taking care of each other.
You see them that they're flying around, but you don't know that there's order, literal law and order to it.
Yes.
There's not
right. So while many birds chase off their young after they've fledged and left the nest, crows actually welcome the help of their children in raising chicks, defending their home territory, bringing food, and guarding.
That's smart. Listen, that's smart.
Right. You're not going to kick your kids out if they're going to pull their own weight.
Right? But I will if they don't.
Right. These family groups are typically small, but might actually contain as many as 15 birds. So that's got to be several generations.
Yeah.
So but interestingly enough, so the sacrifice is that let's say you do decide to live with your parents and help raise your sister's kids or whatever, or something like that. There is only one breeding pair per group, sort of like wolves. There's just,
okay.
ones get to breed. So you might not get to breed if you're a helper. Because it's all about, you want the genes to pass on, but do
they mate for life though?
I feel like it might be like one of those serially monogamous kind of things.
Okay.
Which is like,
or you guys couldn't see. I was gonna say you couldn't see Laura's eyebrows of like, like.
Oh, actually, nope. I am so good because I'm actually, Katie. That's in my next bullet point.
Oh, here we go.
So they're, like I said, one breeding group pair per group, while everyone else helps out. Crows are considered socially monogamous, meaning that they tend to stay together for life as long as things are going well, just like people.
So they're like, you know what? Done.
Things aren't working out.
Yeah.
But when looking at DNA of these crow families, not all the babies always have the same father. So
wah.
An extra pairing is going on.
Never mind. I was gonna say, at least crows all look alike.
But they're all related.
I know, but you're not gonna know. Like, it all looks like it's just like an unmarked black bird. It's not like
I'm
a
sure
cat.
they can tell the difference between each other. I bet to some point.
That would be interesting to test. Like, could Dad
Crow recognize that it's not his kid? That beak divot looks different.
It doesn't look like my beak. Look at his toes. He doesn't have my toes.
That'd be so funny. I can imagine when like an albino crow gets born. I knew she was messing around with that swan. I knew it. So and then also of the breeding pair situation, there's also some like Bible rules going on here of like when the breeding male dies, if he dies, his brother might take his place and just become the new crow father.
Oh, jeez.
Like, she doesn't really get a say. He just steps
right in.
Yeah. So unlike the orcas, this is not a matriarchal society. Once the young disperse, they may set up a territory next door to their parents or somewhere nearby. But within flocks and families, males are always dominant.
Males, okay.
Yes. Yeah. So not matriarchal. Definitely males. Always dominant. And they're very territorial towards other strange males. So not maybe towards their own siblings and parents, but definitely towards other. So this is the crazy part. And like, man, female crows really get the shaft here. So let's say... Oh, I didn't even realize I made a pun. That's great. So once a female pairs up, they are made to cut all ties to their crow family. Like, their new crow husband is like, listen, you cannot speak to them. You cannot see them. They are dead to you now. All right. You can no longer live with them because he's territorial towards her brothers and her father.
That is called abusive relationship.
I know.
Get out, girl.
Meanwhile, if your son moves next door, he can visit and come home and get food as much as he wants. Like, it's
sounds about right. A mama's boy.
Yeah,
it's totally on par.
But Dad's cool with it. Like, Dad's cool with his own kids, but yeah, the boys don't mess with each other's families.
Dang.
So yeah, that's really rough for them, I'm sure. So when not with their extended families, crows also spend a lot of time in large flocks, searching for food and eating and sometimes getting into trouble. And, you know, I'm sure we all understand the value of hanging out with friends, not just our family members. In late fall, crows, at least around here, crows in these parts, are known to form huge flocks in the evenings, known as winter roosts. And these flocks can range in size from a few hundred birds to up to 2 million crows.
That's too much.
That's like apocalyptic numbers.
No, that is. That really is.
A crow is like the size of a chicken almost.
Yeah, no. That would be a little
black chickens flying around in the air. You'd be like, this is it.
2 million black chickens. This is it.
Families. So, and I've seen, like, in the winter where I work, there is a roost and only a couple of hundred, maybe 1,000 birds. But it is loud, and they just fly over. But I was driving, and they were on like both sides of the roads in the trees, and it was so noisy. And I was wondering, like, when people are driving, what they think. Like, I know what's going on, but does the common person know what's going on?
Down here in Texas, it's the same thing with grackles. Mm-hmm. They're not big they're bigger than a robin, but they're like very lanky. But man, they in like the spring and stuff, when they're moving, the groups that they have in the winter, it's insane.
I believe it.
The groups, and they hang out on power lines, and it'll just be like thousands and thousands. Same thing, like first thing in the morning, doesn't take much. They're up, and then all of a sudden they all fly off at once. It's insane.
And so when like they make these giant roosts, families might join a flock all together, but then they'll intermingle with their friends once they arrive. So it's like they all gather up together, and they're like,
"Oh, interesting.
I haven't seen you in a while," but they don't need to spend time with their family the whole time. So these groups might consist of local birds as well as ones that have migrated from up to several hundred miles away, which is crazy.
Wow. Yeah, that is weird.
It's almost like in the pioneer days when there were like festivals, you know? Everyone came.
It's a crow Festival.
Yeah, like a crow shindig or hootenanny.
Yeah, a hootenanny.
A crow. Such a great word. A hootenanny.
Yeah.
And it isn't unusual for these flocks to contain multiple, like at least two different species of crows. Around here, it's American and fish crows will actually spend time together.
And if you listen to our
next week's episode?
Next week? Yeah, that we've already recorded that. Everybody knows we record these in batches. We talk about the fish crow again.
Yeah.
We need to play that at some point.
Yeah.
I'll find it in that book.
So there could be several explanations for why crows form these big winter roosts. It could be that it helps them to stay warm in cold temperatures by huddling together. Could be to look for potential mates in early spring. You know, it's how you suss out, who's here.
When all the women get in trouble.
Yeah. To keep predators away when food is scarce. And seemingly to share information such as feeding locations. Because it seems like when they come back at night, they talk a lot. And then the next day, they'll go and they'll form other feeding groups. Like at the places that somebody found during the day.
Yeah.
So they are exchanging information somehow.
Hey, I was talking to Martha down the wire down there. And she said... Yeah. Yeah, right.
Scientists, though, are still kind of piecing it all together. Because crow behavior and motives are not always clear. So...
Our motives.
But many animals gather in like large groups for similar reasons, so these assumptions make sense.
But it's crows, and to me that's more terrifying than because I feel like there's more thinking going on than there is action, and for me that's what's like the freaky part is
they're motivated.
Yeah, they have motivation because they're really smart. And so for me, that's I have no issues with birds. I have a coworker who also used to work in zoos and she's terrified of birds. I have zero problems with birds. Crows just are creepy to me just because they are intelligent. There's more thought going on than what they're acting out. And that's
beady little eyes.
Yeah, but then there's thought by those beady eyes. Yeah.
And as I was saying, you can obviously see that crows exhibit high social intelligence, but beyond just the family stuff, they're known to work together to drive off predators, find food, and solve problems. And this requires them to be in constant communication with one another via a wide variety of vocalizations and body language, very similar to humans. And it even carries over into their interactions with other species, because crows are known to be able to recognize and remember individual human faces. So this, I think, was brought up many episodes ago.
Yeah, with pigeons. Yeah, it was with pigeons that they recognize.
That
they remember.
Even before that, towards the beginning of this podcast, I feel like I brought up this crow thing once before.
Yeah,
But there has been studies that, if you harm a crow,
bad juju.
If you're a friend of crows, they're going to remember, and they might even bring you trinkets. It's my dream to be a crow princess who gets trinkets from crows.
I will say that would be amazing.
But if you harm a crow, you better watch out, because not only will they remember you, but they have even been observed teaching their family and flock members to recognize specific undesirables.
Jeez.
So, if they're going to tell their friends are going to hate you too. And so it seems like, crows don't forget, and it also doesn't seem like they forgive.
No, never. Again, there's more thought going on than action.
Yeah.
Good grief.
And that's crows. Man, I love them.
They are really neat.
Cool birds.
Alrighty, so my second one that I'm going to do is the spotted hyena.
Another animal that we've brought up multiple times in this podcast.
Yeah, because a hyena, we were offered to pet one whenever Laura and I visited it was an illegal, quote unquote, animal auction in Ohio before Zanesville happened, and all the Ohio laws thankfully were changed. But whenever we went to that auction, there was a lady with a hyena in a crate.
A baby.
Yeah, and a little pup, and she was like, do you want a pet? Okay, I say a pup, but it was still big enough that it was going to do some damage. Yeah. And she's like, oh, do you guys want to pet it? No, I don't want to,
I want to.
I want to, but also, I'm not stupid, a hyena.
They came up, I did a whole thing on them in our Animals of the Occult episode, because I focused on the hyenas, and I even think that I chose them as one of those, could you be that? I would be.
They're pretty cool
because of some of the
The
things
hemipene.
Yeah.
The hemipene. I bet.
Matriarchal society and like all that. Yeah.
All right, so let's dive into this. So the spotted hyena, scientifically known as crocodile,
Cracking
maybe,
themselves up.
right?
Crocodile.
Is a fascinating creature found in various habitats across sub-Saharan Africa. They have a distinct appearance with their powerful build, sloping back, and unique coloration featuring a spotted coat. Spotted hyenas are highly adaptable and can be found in a wide range of environments, including savannas, grasslands, woodlands, and even mountainous regions. When it comes to their diet, spotted hyenas are skilled and very opportunistic hunters. They are apex predators and are known for their remarkable ability to take down large prey such as wildebeest, zebra, and even young elephants, which to me is nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, to me it's crazy because they are like stocky, like, and they don't seem like very agile creatures, I guess I should say, because even though lions are bigger, they're a lot more agile than what hyenas are. So to me, like a hyena to take down a young elephant, because it would be like a bulldog, you know what I mean, like taking down a deer.
Yeah.
Like, could it? Yeah, that wouldn't be too shocking, but at the same time, it's like a little bulldozer taking down something.
Yeah.
But they are also very, very good scavengers and will readily feast on any carrion, which is dead things, making the most of any available food source. This versatile feeding behavior contributes to their remarkable success and survival in the harsh African wilderness. So let's go a little bit more into their social lives of the spotted hyena. Unlike many other carnivores, spotted hyenas live in complex and highly organized social groups called clans. These clans can consist of anywhere from a few individuals to over 80 members. The clan is led by a dominant alpha female, again, matriarch, who holds a position of power and authority. She is larger and more aggressive than males, and she outranks them within the social hierarchy by far. Within the clan, there is a strict hierarchy with the alpha female at the top. She exercises authority over other females, and her cubs inherit their rank and social order. This matriarchal society creates a fascinating dynamic where female hyenas display way more aggressive and assertiveness than their male counterparts.
Yeah, I remember I think it was the occult episode where I talked about how like it's all the females above all the males.
All of the males.
And the males do they literally bow to the females, like to submission.
Yeah, that's a whole other level. Like,
yeah.
So cooperation and collaboration are key elements of spotted hyena social lives. They engage in cooperative hunting, where the individuals work together to bring down large prey. Like I said, elephants. This cooperative behavior allows them to tackle prey that normally should be too challenging for a single hyena. So same thing, sort of like wolves. They do things like encircling their prey, communicating through vocalizations, organizing everything, and using their intelligence to outwit their targets.
Well, plus they're hunting an elephant, which is another insanely intelligent species.
Right? Yeah.
It's like a battle of the wits here.
Yeah, no, it really would be. Another intriguing aspect of the spotted hyena social lives is their exceptional communication skills. They possess a wide range of vocalizations, including whoops, cackles, growls, and giggles, which play a crucial role in maintaining social bonds, coordinating group activities, and establishing territories. Their distinctive vocal repertoire also allows clan members to identify each other, convey emotions, and communicate effectively over long distances. So research has shown that spotted hyenas possess the remarkable intelligence and problem-solving abilities, which I feel like when people look at hyenas, they don't think of them as a particularly smart individual.
Yeah, because
you know what I mean?
Dumb.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, look at
it. That it's all because of everything we've ever seen of them.
Yeah, think of the Lion King. They're like Ed. You know, he's like, you know, just not all that intelligent.
They're always the bad guy, and they're always portrayed as being evil or stupid.
Yep. But they exhibit complex social behaviors, cooperative hunting, like I've talked about, and demonstrate advanced understanding of social dynamics within their clans. These traits, combined with their strong family bonds and intricate communication systems, make up to be rich and dynamic social lives.
That's one thing I never took care of at a zoo that I've always wanted to would have been hyenas.
Hyenas? That would be interesting. Yeah.
They were really interesting animals.
So Laura already talked about like how it's complete, and I mentioned it's a complete reversal of male versus female. And one interesting fact about the hyenas, which I know we've talked about, is females, they have the pseudopene, which is an long clitoris that closely resembles the male genitalia, a penis, which is insane. That it has gone, gone that far, like evolutionary speaking, to reverse, like to show the matriarchal, that it's gone that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do remember it being like, wow, that sounds incredible. But then they have to give birth through it too. And I can like kill them. So then I'm like,
it could.
Maybe I don't actually want
that. Yeah. maybe that's not for me. Despite, though, their remarkable social lives, spotted hyenas, they do face numerous threats to their survival, habitat loss, human-wildlife conflict. Just like we said, like because of that bad reputation, a lot of people just don't see the need for them. And again, they're great at eating dead things that are left over that other things don't want to eat.
Yeah.
They know that it could give a disease. So
just clean up crew animals.
Yep, definitely do. So yeah, so that's the spotted hyena and their social lives, which I think is pretty neat. Again, I think it's
undervalued and underappreciated.
And it is really neat. I don't know how many zoos I've actually been to that have hyenas.
I think I might have seen one once.
Yeah, not very many.
Not very many.
They are really cool.
Yeah, I think they're really cool. I would actually like to know a lot more about them. Like, yeah, I think they're just an underappreciated animal.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to end it with, I just had to. I feel like I talk about honeybees a lot. And again, we've talked about honeybees and our episodes before too, but not their social lives. We talked about their sex lives and probably some other things.
Yeah.
But,
everything about honeybees.
And I talk about this a lot at work because we have an observation hive and I'm blown away all the time. And just when I think I know everything, of course, I'm like,
something comes up.
Not, Laura.
Yeah.
So
it keeps us humble.
Yeah. In the best way. Like, I'm glad. So
yeah, it would suck if I knew it. I would not be, because for me, learning stuff is so much fun and I enjoy it, that if I knew everything, and maybe that's why I have such great, like, I love ADHD because I do forget so much that sometimes things are just new to me. I'm like, this is fascinating. Yeah.
Well, I mean, and of course there's lots of different bees in the world, and honeybees are, people talk about them way more than the other bees. The native bees don't get enough love. That's for a whole nother episode. But I do need to talk about honeybees, European honeybees in particular, because they're the ones that are social, because not all bees are. But
hold on, pause. Diggles literally just opened the door and then turned around to come back because he's like, no, I do not want. Yeah, I do not want this door shut. No, thank you.
Yeah, what a turd.
After you just shut it.
No, it needs to be open. I need to sit.
Yeah.
So when you picture a bee in your head, I can almost guarantee you that you're thinking of a European, or also called a Western honeybee. They're the classic bee.
The classic
bee. Small flying insect, black and yellow in color, big eyes, stinging butts. If they're a girl. This one,
I just like the stinging butts. The classic bee.
Classic bee. So this one species, the European honeybee, can actually be divided into more than 20 different subspecies. But that's because they can be found pretty much all over the world now, although they're originally native to Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. But thanks to European colonization, they can be found everywhere. Not a good thing. But no. Honey's great.
I mean, yeah, great. Honey's fantastic.
It appears that they were first brought to the United States in 1622. So they've been here a while. In the wild, they live in hollow trees, but can now be found in all sorts of man-made structures. Like, you can find them in anything.
Yeah.
All sorts of crazy videos on the internet will show you where bees can live. But basically, you can find them in places near flowering plants because that's what they need. Because they eat nectar, pollen, and honey. So we're just going to cover their insanely complex social lives and dive into other bee stuff another day. But honeybees, I wanted to talk about them specifically because they're what's called a eusocial animal, or specifically a eusocial insect. And that means that they have to have three things to be considered eusocial. They have to have reproductive division of labor, cooperative brood care, and overlapping generations. So I'm going to break it down.
Wait, hold on. Wait, is that classification just for the bee, or is that for all eusocial?
Eusocial.
Yeah. Oh, eusocial. Okay, okay.
So the division of labor, or the reproductive division of labor, basically it's a caste system, or that everybody has their own job. So each honeybee colony consists of a queen, workers, and drones. And each caste has a clearly defined role that is not performed by any other caste. So it's clearly defined division of labor, and it all has to do with reproduction. So the queen is the only reproductive female in the hive, typically. She is solely responsible for creating new offspring. It's her one and only job. Lay those eggs. During peak production, queens can actually lay up to 1,500 eggs per day.
Dang.
More than 250,000 in her lifetime. Sometimes up to 1 million, people think. The second major function of a queen is producing pheromones that serve as actually like social glue, unifying and helping to give individual identity to a bee colony. So like she's releasing pheromones that's telling everybody their job, that's like solidifying their social structure.
Dang, I need that. Like,
just
gotta we
like yeah, your team would be perfect,
right? I man, and I have
Katy needs
I have
this today.
Right? I have an amazing team that work for me now. Like they're, again, as a man, I love when I have a team. Like my team right now, I fill into a true manager role where I'm there to support them. And for me, that's like a true leadership role. I'm just there to support them. But to not even have to say anything and just like other people around you being like, oh, I need to go do this as soon as they see me. Yeah. Bingo, bango. I would love that.
Yeah, it's the queen for sure. Other jobs are most of the bees that you see are the workers. These are the non-reproductive females. This is basically all the daughters of the queen. They do all the work within the hive. What I didn't know though, like I knew that part, what I didn't know before doing research for the podcast was that this work is actually age dependent.
Wait. What?
Yeah, so rather than specializing in only one job, each worker progresses through the tasks in a predictable order based upon their age. So
how did we not know this?
I don't know. Because other people I talked to, they were like, oh, yeah, I knew this. Other naturalists. I did not.
No.
So, I mean, I don't know how I thought they figured it all out, but this is how they do it. It's so systematic. Of course this is how they do it.
Yeah.
But so the queen lays her eggs. Once those eggs hatch, they're the workers. Those baby bees and the young females, they're in charge of brood care, which is cleaning the brood cells, the baby cells, feeding and tending to those babies, and tending to the queen as she lays the eggs. So like as soon as they hatch, they come out and they start taking care of their sisters and the queen. So they're staying close by. Then they get a little bit older, and their next job is hive maintenance. So this is like building new honeycomb, receiving the nectar and the pollen from the ones that are bringing it into the hive, storing it, processing the honey, and ventilating the hive.
Okay, which I get that that's like a very complex thing, but is it really the first job we want people to do to raise the young? like
inexperienced ones are the baby
raisers.
Raisers.
That have no experience doing anything ever.
Yep.
Actually, we need you to raise your siblings.
Yeah.
Continue. I mean, I don't know what else they would do, but still, that's terrifying.
Yeah, maybe the hive maintenance.
Because it's babies raising babies.
Raising babies.
Yeah.
And then finally, the oldest ladies, they get to do hive defense and forage. So they're the only ones that ever get to leave the hive. So you don't leave until you're old enough to leave.
Dang.
You need experience. So they guard the hive from predators.
How do you have that experience, though, if you're never allowed to leave the hive?
You're a month old, and that's your world.
Yeah. Yeah. Month old. I know it all. 1 month old.
Yeah. They remove and they go out and they forage and they get all the nectar and the pollen and they bring it back to their sisters to be able to process that. So crazy. So much work.
Yeah.
And then finally, the drones, the other reproductive caste. It's the males, and their one and only job is to pass on their genes by mating with a queen from another hive. That's it. They don't do any of the work.
Yeah.
They just hang out. They fly out every day, hope to find a new queen.
Those males.
Bada bing, bada boom. They die from that too. Go back and listen to our sex to death episode, which is like number 2.
Yeah, the second episode.
It's all about that.
Yeah.
So, That is the caste system of the division of labor. Another eusocial aspect is the cooperative brood care. That means that the workers are caring for the queen's offspring. In most cases, like I said, it's the sisters. The sisters are all raising each other. And then they also need to have those overlapping generations. So honeybee queens can actually live for several years, typically 2 to 3 years, which is crazy. To think about, like a tiny little bee. And they coexist in the colony with their offspring, who are the workers and the drones. So that's the overlapping generations. But not only, here's the other thing that I didn't know. Not only are they considered like crazy social individuals, but social animals are considered superorganisms because the entire colony functions as one large organism.
What?
So each bee is almost like a cell of a body that helps the whole to function. So here's 3 ways that it does it. This is literally mind exploding to me. So bees are insects. Insects are cold-blooded animals. But when you're talking about the entire hive, it acts like a warm-blooded animal because it can thermoregulate. It can control its temperature.
That's crazy.
So the hive works to maintain a specific internal temperature range of about 93 degrees Fahrenheit. They need to keep it that way. When it gets too hot, they cool it down by fanning their little wings over water droplets.
That's cute. So cute. AC system. Yeah.
When it's too cold, they just heat it up by vibrating their bodies and wings very quickly. So, like, they're thermoregulating as if
which is nuts. Yeah.
They also
it's crazy that it's crazy because that they figured out that again, this is so much in evolution. System. Yeah, but like, how the heck did they figure that out? And then passing it on. Anyway, continue. Yeah.
So the hive breathes like an animal. Like, of course, they're all breathing, but the actual hive itself, there needs to be some ventilation going on in there. So since it's an enclosed space, they need to maintain airflow. Otherwise, they're all going to suffocate.
Yeah.
So there are certain bees, it's their job to fan air in and out of the hive in distinct inhalations and exhalations at the entrance. And fun trivia fact, how much does a hive breathe? The same volume as a domestic cat does in 1 minute.
What? That's another great measurement.
Yep.
How much does it go for volume? Oh yeah, just the same amount as a domestic cat breathes in about approximately 3 hours. Yeah.
Yeah. And then finally, the hive as a whole can reproduce. So this is not talking about like the queen laying babies things, but swarming is considered reproduction as a superorganism. So
okay, I see what you mean now. Because I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah. So the resident queen. So instead of, it's actually kind of backwards of how most reproduction like usually. A mom has babies, those babies then leave and disperse and go find new places. This is the opposite. It's actually the queen, the mom, who leaves.
Yeah.
She leaves and the daughter colony stays.
Yeah.
So the queen usually takes about 2/3 of her daughters to find a new home, and that's known as the parent colony. The rest remain with a new younger queen, and that is the daughter colony. So the colonies themselves are reproducing through swarming.
That's crazy. That is neat, though.
Yeah. And then last but not least, before we let you go, bees have to communicate efficiently within their hive. As we've talked about with all of these social animals, communication must happen in order for their societies to work. So mainly that's done by chemical pheromones, like I said, with the queen, but it's also done through interpretive dance. Which is fantastic.
I was to say, this is right up your alley.
It'll only get better. Yeah. So this actually was discovered in 1973. Carl von Frisch won the Nobel Prize for deciphering the language of bees, which is impressive.
Yeah, to figure it out.
Project.
That's a lot of bee time
to understand bees. So
right?
He studied these bees and figured out that the dancing meant something, and could actually figure out what they were trying to communicate. So experienced bees use the angle of their body relative to the hive ceiling to tell their sisters the direction and approximate distance of whatever they're dancing for.
That's insane.
Yeah, in relation to the sun, because the dance changes throughout the day, because they're like, all right, Lawson, the sun's in the east, and 10 clicks from here, westernly fashion. Like, I'm definitely imagining that's what they're saying.
No, I know, right?
Like, that's the distance. And then they're dancing it out. And the bees are like memorizing this in their tiny little bee brains. They're just watching them dance. And they're like, okay, a left over there at that flower, and then a right at the dandelion. And then like,
maybe that's my memory problem. Maybe we just gotta all like interpretive dance. Yeah. Be like, yes, now I remember. I mean, to be fair, I probably would remember that. If somebody came into my office and was like, the papers are due Monday, I'd be like, what just happened? I would not forget it.
Well, how long do you, I mean, think about how, like, when did you learn, like, the Macarena? You're never going to forget.
Oh, no. Yeah.
You're going to, anyway. And that there are 3 types of dances that the bees do. The waggle dance is when they are telling their sisters about a nectar source. So, like, where is the flower? The shake dance is when they come back and they tell all their sisters that they need more help collecting nectar. So they're like, hey, there's not only is there nectar here, but like you need to come right now and help me carry it. This is let's go get the groceries together.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say. We can everybody go grab, bags.
Grab a bag. And then finally the tremble dance, which is when they need more help processing. So this is when the sisters inside the hive are like, too much, I need help. Like, how do you putting away the groceries?
Yeah, right. So one frantically at the fridge trying to put all the frozen food. Yeah, like, yeah. Goodness, that's neat though.
Yeah, freaking bees, so cool.
Right?
I can watch them all day.
They are very, very interesting.
And that's the social life of bees.
Man, I feel like we picked like a really good variety of like things animals that obviously people know, but I don't think that people know, at least not that
because all of them are pretty commonly talked about animals. But we did a mammal, a bird, an insect, and
orca, spotted hyena.
Oh, right, 2 mammals.
Yeah, 2 mammals. Yeah, I both had mammals.
Aquatic versus terrestrial.
Yeah.
So a great variety of stuff.
Yeah, cool. Well, guys, if you want to reach out to us on Twitter and interact with us, we're posting and everything on there. And then make sure you go over to Patreon and support us so we can keep bringing you good content week after week.
Yeah, and this coming Friday, we will be doing our 100th episode Q&A. So
whoop, whoop.
If you want to join us.
Which my grandma sent us an email and said, congratulations, by the way.
Thanks, Grandma. We would love to have you guys join us live. We want to meet you, especially people from other countries that we know you're listening.
Yes. I just told Laura this today. I mapped out because again, I had, I'm so busy, but I found like a solid 2 hours to do this. I figured out how to download all of our location stats from Buzzsprout and then map it on Google Earth and the spread of where everybody is. It's insane.
We're going to find you.
Yeah, we can. No.
But it's this Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Private message us on either Twitter or Facebook. Probably not Instagram, but you can if you want to. And then we'll send you a link so that we don't get a bunch of creepers joining us or sending weird stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Don't want that. Learn that. No. Many of us learned that in the pandemic.
I didn't. Thank God. I heard horror stories. Okay. I was like, thank God.
Yeah. Hopefully now that you guys have heard a little bit more, hopefully, maybe more than you wanted to, you care a little bit more and we've inspired you guys. And we'll talk to you next week. Bye, everybody.
Bye.